Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the JourneyCast. My name is Levi.
I'm Alicia.
And today we're joined by Jesse Wagner.
What's up, JourneyCast?
All the way from Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas.
That's right.
Awesome.
But an OG Canadian, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
tell us how this happened. I'm just immediate backstory, immediately into it. Yeah.
Yep. Born and raised in Saskatchewan.
Okay.
So Prince Albert, Regina, and then when I was 9 years old, moved down to the States. Okay. And so grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, most of my upbringing, and then just kept moving. I just keep moving south.
Okay.
Keep moving more and more south. I think I'm stopping in Texas. I'm gonna stay put in there.
Can't go much further.
Hold up.
That's the goal.
Prince Albert.
Yep.
That's where my brother-in-law's from.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if you know, do you know the Hodgmans at all?
I don't know.
No?
I moved from there when I was like one.
Oh, okay.
So I don't remember many people from when I was one.
If you had a core memory of a Hodgman, it's probably a bad one then, yeah. 1 year old. Cool. I've spent a lot of time in the States. I've got family in the States, but it's nowhere interesting.
Okay.
It's just Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Yeah, not very
Spent
interesting.
a lot of time in the Dakotas.
There's some beautiful
like,
spots
guys,
in the
go
Dakotas.
To the States. I'm like,
yeah.
North Dakota.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we love Texas though.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a great place to live. We got 3 little kids, great place just to raise our family. So we love it.
It's easy to make fun of Texas though a little bit.
Why is that?
Okay, so the Texans that I have met, and you're not an OG Texan, so maybe you don't know this, but they don't know a lot about Canada. They think it's winter here constantly.
Right.
We've had some fun with Texans. However, we went on a choir tour down to Texas, and like one of my friends was pretty upset. She was in a host home, and they said, because they think Canada's small, some of them, and they were like, "Do you know Phil from Canada?"
Yeah.
And she did.
Wow.
She did know Phil
She
from
knew
Canada.
the exact Phil they were
yeah, so
talking
that
about.
didn't help at all.
No.
But
I could just picture people. Yeah, I do, but that doesn't mean anything.
actually, my North Dakota relatives even are upset because like their relatives in Texas thought, buffalo were still roaming in North Dakota on the roads. And, they were wondering if they had running water. I'm like, it's pretty bad. But Texas is like, you sell it to us in a positive way. Tell us why
Texas,
it's great.
it's an incredible place to live. Great people. Here's 2 words: Southern hospitality. All right.
Yeah,
You can't put a price tag on Southern hospitality. Yeah. Just great
So
people.
compared to like people always say how Canadians are so nice and friendly.
Totally.
Does it beat that, would you say?
Listen, I'm an honored guest on this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't want to say anything.
But was it
it's
shocking
different.
when you moved there how nice people were? Like, was there a bit of a shock? Like,
not as shocked, but I mean, I would say if you're used to maybe like if your perception of America is like New York City,
right,
or Los Angeles or Boston,
like that.
you're just gonna have just homey, welcoming, much more experience like that in the South.
Do people call you like honey everywhere you go?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
you go to a restaurant
no problem, hun.
just get called sugar, honey.
Sugar, there it is.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Sweetie pie. It's like, all right, I'm in my 30s, got a mortgage and 3 kids, but I'm sure you can call me Sweetie Pie. Yeah.
It feels kind of
like,
good.
I'm not your grandkid. You can't call me that.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, a great place to live, great place to raise a family.
And you're a youth pastor there.
Yes, sir.
So you've got some things in common.
Yes.
What are some interesting youth group stories you might have?
But why did you choose youth ministry?
Yeah. Why did you pick it?
Yeah.
I mean, like we made this choice as well. I don't know why. Why?
It's a brave thing to do.
Oh, to be honest, I never even really had like a very specific, I'm called to youth ministry sort of thing. I felt called to ministry at a young age, said yes to Jesus, and just whatever his call was for my life when I was 14. I viewed it through the lens of what was right in front of me and what I was doing, which was a lot of international evangelism. So traveling to third world nations and preaching to unreached people groups and stuff. And so I did that all my teenage years. And so because that was what was right in front of me, I kind of viewed my call to ministry through that lens, thought I would be doing that. But when I was in my about 19, 20 years old, going to Bible school, interning at my local church in Tulsa, really that's when my passion for just the local church in general started to develop. And again, my teenage years was on platforms, on stages, doing very public ministry, preaching and all that kind of stuff. but then when I just started serving in very just behind the scenes, nothing flashy, nothing special, just setting up and tearing down hundreds of chairs every week and just that type, but just serving people, getting involved in the church. Really just over a few years felt God directing my heart towards local church ministry and a pastoral calling.
Yeah.
And so, but even really when we stepped into what we're doing now at our church in Texas called Milestone Church, it wasn't even as much about the position as it was the people and just where God was calling us to. And so my wife and I, we got married, but even when we were engaged, we felt like God was calling us to leave Tulsa at some point. Nothing bad. My family's in Tulsa. Some of hers is. We were part of an incredible church. She was on staff there. Amazing. It was awesome. Nothing we were running from, but just felt like God was calling us out, and felt like He told us to not go pursue anything, not go, apply anywhere. Don't put your resume out there. They're just like, hey, I'll open the door for you, which sounds great. But we were newly married. I was about to graduate college, and I didn't have any job lined up.
And you're like, wait, what are you asking me to do, God?
Yeah, how am I going to
telling
provide?
me not to look for work?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, so it's definitely a faith journey. But even in
a lot
that,
of trust building in that.
Yeah. For sure. But I didn't have a specific. I need to be a youth pastor. I need to do this. Really, we felt like God just kind of put some stuff in our hearts of the type of church that He wanted us to be a part of, type of people He wanted us to be connected to. We were young and green and didn't know much, but we knew enough to know that we didn't know much, and we needed to be in an environment that could develop us and disciple us and just be in, just a very connective, our church we call spiritual family.
Yeah.
So we kind of had just these pictures in our hearts and minds of like the type of place we wanted to feel like God was calling us to be at.
Right.
Didn't even have words to put to all of it. And so,
but it just clicked when you found it.
Yeah. We just got connected to some of the leadership there, and without even really looking for it, and just came down to. We ended up coming down to visit in November. I graduated college in December. We moved down in January, so it was pretty quick once we came and felt like it was God's leading for us. But again, it wasn't really tied to a position. It wasn't like, oh, it's gotta be youth or whatever.
Yeah.
It was really
Right, yeah.
I've always
wherever God's placing you.
Yeah, and I've always just thought like, especially for talking to, I love working with young leaders and young people who are called into ministry and stuff. And I think you want to be careful not to just pigeonhole yourself into, I'm a youth guy, I'm a worship person, I'm a this or that. It's like at the end of the day, you're called, like you say yes to Jesus, whatever he puts in front of you. The assignment could be a little bit different from time to time. But my yes is not to a title or a role or a job description. My yes is to Jesus and whatever He has for me.
I think that's important. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because it's if you're not going to allow Him to use you, like that's just, I like that.
My greatest fear is that God's going to call me into women's ministry. Just like the worst thing I can think of. I don't know if it's maybe just like the one at our church or what. But I've heard these rumors, about 9:00 at night, phone calls from angry ladies that you picked the wrong napkins. I'm like, I can't. I don't have that in me.
Church drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about like a place where you could grow. How would you say you've grown over your time there? What are some things that you've learned about yourself and some challenges that stretched you, but ultimately you grew from?
My wife could probably give you a bunch as well. Yeah. But no, I still have so much to grow in. So I've only been in ministry at our church for just a little over 8 years, and so I know there's plenty of people who have decades on me. So I try to position myself,
and they're still learning
as
too.
a learner. Yeah. I've had to learn a lot. I mean, even just in regards to, like just how to, like relatability with students. So like specific in the youth area, like just learning what makes young people tick and what's going on in their lives and
the culture.
Just like the culture and what's this generation, and even just like Gen Z versus Gen Alpha, and I mean, I'm trying to constantly just learn and just like who is this target market that I'm called to help steward it in our church. But then just, I mean, so much of what I've had to learn and grow in has all been just in like team dynamics with people and stuff. And so when you're young, and you're working with other people who are young and everyone's got their own just insecurities and things you're working through.
You think
and stuff.
You can fix everything?
Yeah, it's just so many great. I think life presents discipleship opportunities, and so as you work with, if you work closely in connection with people, friction happens, right? And there's going to be conflict and things to resolve and stuff. And so I'm naturally a pretty driven person. Yeah. And I can just, when I'm in go mode, just kind of go and steamroll. And so I've had to learn how to walk slowly through a crowd and learn how to bring people along and not go too fast and let people kind of fall to the wayside and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that's important. I feel like when I started at Hillcrest, sometimes I was like, my mentality a bit was like, oh, I can fix this, but realizing that there's not something that needs to be fixed, and that it's okay if it's not the way I want it to be, and just being okay with that. You talked a bit about your overseas ministry and like growing up in that. How do you think that affects a person, being on the road a lot, and positively or negatively? What were some things you worked through with that, and what were some experiences you got to be a part of that helped you grow? Right?
Yeah, I had really pretty interesting type of teenage upbringing.
Yeah, not a lot of people can say they have that sort of upbringing.
Tell us about it.
Very different than most, and even you're asking like how have I had to learn and grow and stuff. That's one of the areas. Even like for me thinking back to my teenage years, so much of my teenage years is completely unrelatable to what the average teenager deals with. So that's just even things I've had to work through of like, okay, God, you called me to reach young people, but I was homeschooled, spent so much time in like overseas ministries and stuff like that. So like I just like the average teenager and what they experience just going to public school, being involved in the sports, going to the proms, like just all this stuff is like it's like just that wasn't my experience, right? So it's just kind of a learning curve of just relatability. But I'm so grateful for my upbringing because I had pretty incredible, unique experiences as a teenager. So most of from like 13 to 19 years old, I mean, every few months I'd be on the road somewhere with my dad. So been India about 15 different times, been all over just Pakistan, Cambodia, Malaysia, a little bit in Africa. So doing like international missions work. So it was short-term stuff, so just like a week or two at a time. Where we'd go in.
But a lot was happening in those two weeks. I remember like because you guys had come with your dad years ago to speak at our church camp here, and I remember I think I'd followed you guys online and seeing 2 weeks here and this many people got to, like, it's just like kind of like this condensed.
Yeah, it's just
because you've only got so much time there, but there's a lot happening within that time. Right.
So it's the model is like crusade evangelism, basically going into an unreached area, partnering with the churches there, helping to train up the local churches and pastors to do discipleship afterwards. But then you do these big evangelistic meetings, try to bring in people, preach the gospel, pray for people to be healed. So just kind of big like.
Would you say people are a lot more open when they've never even heard the gospel before? Or they don't even know?
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, definitely saw a lot of openness and just like hunger and childlike faith, And so, and again, a lot of the places that we'd go to, we'd focus on like really unreached third world places, extreme poverty.
And translators and stuff too for you. Or?
All the time. Yeah. So that was even a learning curve, learning how to preach without a translator, because the first 6 or 7 years of all my preaching was always with an interpreter.
And then wait.
Yeah. So you've got all these pauses in your sermon that you don't have anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Dramatic. Yeah. So if you hear me pause dramatically for effect, it's probably because I just forgot where I was going. Yeah.
Oh, they understand it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, it was some of the things that I'm so grateful for with how I was raised is really just inspired so much faith in me from a young age.
Yeah.
Let me just have a good, healthy understanding of how blessed we are in so many Western areas of just like,
I have a lot of gratitude.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You see how so much of the world lives and if it doesn't stir up some gratitude in your heart, like it should stifle some,
absolutely
some, just,
I remember years ago, I don't know, I just had like a bad attitude or something. I was complaining about something and my sister was like, you need to go on a missions trip.
Yeah, first world problems. Yeah.
She just signs you up, puts you on the bus.
Right, yeah, you're going on the DTS.
Yeah. But so many of my favorite, memories from all that is just seeing God work in pretty miraculous ways that really inspired my faith. And so I very vivid memories of like just praying for people and seeing them be healed. And then even just personal interactions with people that like really inspired me, So I remember being in Pakistan when I was, I think 17, and there was a guy who waited till the very end of like our last meeting, and it was literally like a story from the Bible where he was brought like on a mat by his friends, and he couldn't walk. He'd been in an accident, and like 6 years later, still had never been able to walk, and like waited till the end of that night until we were all there, and so we like prayed for him. And I was young and bold and ambitious, so I had that like that young bold faith on me. I don't recommend this necessarily, but I prayed for him, and they were like, yeah, he's paralyzed for 6 years, he can't walk. And I was like, well, we're just gonna see if we can. I prayed for him, and then I picked him up and I pulled him to his feet and I let him go. And he was able to walk. It was great. I know, it's kind of a dangerous move. I don't recommend it.
Could have gone this way.
Wow, So it worked out well that time. I remember hearing it was a funny story of I forget who it was, but some like healing evangelist guy who told stories of like he'd get all these people in wheelchairs lined up and just go down the line, pray for him. He basically just pull them up one by one. And he's like, and most of the time they stood up. So.
Wow.
But sometimes he just pulled them up and they just fell over.
Like, well,
that's an interesting way to do it. Yeah.
But I remember just being, but
God healed him.
Yeah. Again, just so many of the stories of like some healings and stuff like that. But then also just being so inspired by, it'll convict you when you meet some people who are, have gone through so much persecution and, have just lived such a life of faithfulness to God in spite of terrible circumstances.
Yeah, I've thought what would the Western Church look like if there was persecution, and on that level, right?
Yeah,
there's we get called racist or homophobic and stuff for our faith, but it's but compared to what they're dealing with over there, it's
right.
Nothing.
Yeah. So I remember meeting a guy named Philip in India, and you meet him and you immediately, realize some stuff about Philip. And Philip wasn't his given name, his name he chose after he got saved, actually. But his face was all mutilated, like lots of like burn marks and stuff like that. And he didn't have a left hand. And so talking to him, I was just asking him about some of his story. And he told me that, he was raised in a Hindu family in India and got saved, converted to Christianity, and his family excommunicated him from their family, kicked him out, said, we never want to see you ever again in our entire lives. But their parting gift to him was his mom threw burning acid on his face and chopped off his hand before she kicked him out of the family. And this was a guy who just had he just had supernatural joy from the Lord and just loved God. And, it's like, all right, I haven't gone through anything remotely close to anything like, what I mean? So it's very humbling. Just seeing the childlike faith and dedication from so many incredible people like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you ever in any dangerous situations?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That built
nothing like, I mean, I would say from my perspective, nothing where I was like, okay, maybe I think I'm going to actually die here.
Nothing immediate.
But I mean, I remember being in Haiti and there's, we're doing our meetings and there's voodoo witch doctors circling around trying to, cast spells on us and stuff. I remember being in Pakistan and getting whisked away because our people were like, hey, there's Taliban running towards us. Wow. Dealing with bomb threats and different stuff like that. So Pakistan, we had some pretty intense stuff. When we would do our large meetings, we'd had a armed security force of like 400 armed security officers with AK-47s. Wow. I had a team of like 12 people with me, like, guys in my hotel room at all times, armed because of like the kind of the threats against us and stuff like that. But it never reached a point where it was like
nothing immediate was happening.
Yeah, it wasn't like, hey, here's someone gun to your head sort of thing. But it was kind of maybe some steps before that. But we were always pretty aware of that. Yeah.
I remember when my dad he said when he went to Haiti, he would fall asleep at night, like they were there on a mission trip. He'd fall asleep at night to the sound of the voodoo drums. Like you just hear them. You just know that that was going on in the background all the time. I went on a missions trip to Mexico too. And I just remember they had where we were, it was 10-foot walls around because they knew that where we were was very unsafe. There was a lot going on at the time and had a lot of German shepherds on the property. And women were never allowed to go anywhere alone. I was literally safer with a 10-year-old boy than I was by myself. So it's just it's different everywhere you go, right? We take a lot of that for granted around here.
So how does that affect you when you're trying to do ministry? And meanwhile, there's this threat in the back of your mind. Is that you're just trusting that God's gonna take care of you, or how do you deal with that? Yeah,
and again, we would if there was some real dangerous threats that seem valid, then we would take the necessary precautions. So if there was if threats of, hey, if you guys go on stage, we'll do this or that, we wouldn't be foolish and we'd take the necessary precautions. So I don't remember any situation where it was too intense.
You had a pretty good team with you.
Yeah. Just kind of knew how to play it safe when we needed to.
Yeah. Awesome. I was going to ask you.
I can tell you something in the meantime. Yeah. Also, if we want to do Q&A, we can maybe pass the around if anybody has questions. Last night when you were talking about your wife and how you poured your whole heart out and you kind of got a thank you. My poor sweet Tyler can relate to the same kind of thing. So he told me that he liked me for the first time. Yeah. And all I could come up with, I don't know why this came out of my mouth. I was like, you're not so bad yourself is all that I said. And then he went home. And so the next day I was like, I had to actually confirm that I also liked him.
I feel the same way.
Yeah. We often say that.
Here's the thing. When I started pursuing my wife, my now wife, so she's a couple years older than me. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I was shooting my shot, she's a couple years older, but she's also, I took 2 years off after high school before I started college, where she just went kind of the traditional route. So she graduated college when I was starting as a freshman. And so when we met, I was in my sophomore year of college and she was already into her career and stuff. So in her mind, she was we're totally different seasons of life and stuff like that. And who's this dude that's trying to, make a move on me and all this type of stuff. And the previous guy that she had dated was 6'5" Hispanic dude, 5 years older than her. So that's just not me. Yeah. I am not.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Change who you are.
Any of those things. And so it was I was in much different packaging than she was expecting. So it took some convincing. And I remember I told a story of how we're on our fourth date. I basically, in a very romantic way, professed my love to her for 20 minutes straight. Romantic rooftop overlooking the city. Literally printed out this booklet. It was 10 pages of why you're so beautiful, all this type of stuff. And her response after all that was, thank you. It's like, wow. Okay.
It gave me a little bit of Harrison Ford's Han Solo in Star Wars when it says "I love you" and he says "I know."
I know.
Yeah. And so then even in like subsequent stuff after that, I remember sitting in a coffee shop maybe a few weeks later, and I'm like, all right, Liz, here's my intentions with you. Like, I want to pursue this type of relationship with you.
To say them.
Yeah. And she like said back to me one day, she's like, I don't want to date anyone that's in college. I don't see us dating stuff. So she would say this stuff, but then I'm like, but you're still sitting here. And so I was strategic because I was like, I don't want her to get away, because she was like the best of the best that I saw anywhere around me. In fact, one of my friends who lived on the same floor as me, he knew her as well from like church and school and stuff like that. And so I remember telling him early on, I was like, hey man, I'm starting to take Liz on some dates and like pursuing her. And he paused for a second. He goes, bro, Liz is a goddess. I was like, she's not wrong. And so, but I was like, all right, she's like by far the highest caliber, most incredible girl I've ever met, ever pursued. So like, I got to just go for it. So I was I was persistent, so I would I'd take her on a date, and then when the date was over, I'd walk her up to her door at her apartment. And before I said goodbye, I already had the next date planned.
Oh, wow.
And so when I dropped her off for that current date, hey, can I pick you up again next Friday at 5:30? I want to take you to these places. And so I just kept doing that for months. And so she had a hard time saying no.
You weren't gonna let her get away.
Yeah, no, I was working it, and so she would even like talk with some of her friends, stuff like, I feel bad, man, but am I like leading him on? Maybe I should just stop going on dates. And she had some good friends who were like, no, just keep like, I think just keep going and stuff. And then we had a specific turning point that it was like she just kind of. The blinders fell off, scales fell from her eyes. She saw me in a new light, and from there she fell hard and fast.
Oh, no. You're in good company here. There's a few of us in the room, some ladies that are a little bit older than the guys that we married. Yeah.
Yep. I always said this. I don't know if this is Journey Cast appropriate, but I always said this cub don't mind playing in the cougar den. Okay. No, she's only a year and a half. She's not that much older. It's not that crazy, right?
Are you getting some looks over there over my shoulder? Oh, man. Tell us a little bit. I'm interested about your time on the game show, The Great American Bible Quiz. That's what it's called, right?
It was something to that effect.
The Jeff Foxworthy.
It was called the American Bible Challenge.
The American Bible Challenge,
Yep. Yeah, it was just a game show. Yeah. On like the Game Show Network thing. And so, me and my brothers just tried out for it. Yeah.
Josh says you have about, I don't know if he's exaggerating, you've got about half of scripture memorized.
Probably an exaggeration. Yeah. No, we did just like it was pretty nerdy, pretty nerdy church stuff back in my middle school and high school years.
Hey, you know what?
Memorize the Bible and compete against other churches on your Bible knowledge.
Yeah.
So you met Jeff Foxworthy then? You were on this show?
Yeah, so me and my brothers, we went on this game show where Jeff Foxworthy was the host, super funny dude.
Yeah.
And so we ended up we won they flew us out to Hollywood for the week.
Oh, wow.
Put us up in the hotel, all this type, big, cool, like, game show set and stuff. And so we won our first round. Yes.
Yeah.
We won our second round. Yes. And then we made it to the finals. And our finals, we played against a team of 3 nuns.
Oh.
And so,
you should just give up right there.
Yeah. So we played against Sister Evangeline, Sister Maria Suso, and Sister Peter Joseph. Which I always thought was interesting because I guess as a nun you get to like choose your name, and so the chief, like the main sister, she chose the name Sister Peter Joseph. I don't know what to do with that. It's interesting,
it's an odd choice.
Yep, but that was her choice. But yeah, that was the sweetest thing of all was we beat this team of nuns to win
you
the
beat
American.
them?
Yeah, we beat the nuns. Yeah, we destroyed them. Yeah, it's powerful. But here's the thing, It's cool that we because we won this game show.
Yeah.
But it was the worst game show to win.
Okay. What was the prize?
Because every other game show, like you'd win thousands of dollars and stuff, right? So this game show, you played for a charity. So we played for our family's ministry. So we won the game show, and we won a grand prize of $140,000.
Oh, wow.
Tons of money.
What a great donation. Do you get the tax receipt on that then?
We got, I received myself $0.00 from that.
Man.
Great benefit for the ministry, but I was like, man, maybe I should have won Wheel of Fortune. I could have actually like bought a car or something.
Price is right.
So how do you get involved in that? Like, what are
I forget how we just like heard that the show was coming out and like there was auditions for it and stuff like that. And so we, I think the way it went down, we applied for the first season and didn't get on it, and then we like applied again and they chose us.
I think I might have watched an episode because I remember, I think this was after you guys came up, and then we heard about it somehow that the Wagners were going to be on the Great American or the American Bible Quiz or Challenge.
Yeah.
It's
great. Many moons ago.
Yeah, a while ago.
Probably
now.
a dozen or 13 years ago or something like that. So yeah.
We got some questions.
Yeah, I got a couple questions for you. So
Bring it on.
First question is, they want to know how did you meet Josh?
How did I meet Josh? Great question. So Josh Smith, the amazing youth pastor here at the Link Church.
Doctor.
Reverend Doctor.
Reverend Doctor.
Is it Dr. Reverend or Reverend Doctor?
I think it's Reverend Doctor.
I think it's Reverend Doctor, yeah.
Reverend Doctor, Pastor Josh.
Yeah.
All right, powerful.
Yeah.
Josh was funny. So he was actually like, Josh was a youth in my dad's youth group, like 30 years ago or so, or however long ago that was. And so I knew Josh when I was a kid. He was kind of like a fun uncle type of thing, like even before he was married, when we were in Saskatchewan. And so when I was, 5 years old, 6 years old, whatever sort of thing, he was kind of like one of the youth and young adults like in the church that was close to my parents. And so I haven't actually, I didn't seen him for like a couple decades or something until this weekend. But it's kind of just a fun little reunion type of thing.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. So you don't have any like bad stories about him or anything?
No, I wish I did.
Yeah.
I really wish I did.
He did talk a bit about his time, because he said there was like a season where he had like a bunch of questions. So Kevin's like, okay, you can come meet with me and I'll try and answer your questions as best I can. He talked a little bit about that on the first episode we did with him a year ago now.
Yeah.
Because he did one of these breakout sessions last year. So
that's awesome.
If you're interested, you can go listen to that episode.
Our next question is, how old are you?
How old do you think I am, Alicia?
It doesn't really matter because it comes with a response. I'm just supposed to say, gosh, you're old.
Gosh, I'm old. Thank you. Yeah, boomer. Okay.
Boom.
Yep. I am. How old do you think I am, Alicia?
No,
32.
30?
You are an excellent guesser.
Really?
I am 32.
Oh, wow.
Yep. 32 years young. Nice. Yes. Yep.
Also 32 this week.
It's a good age. I'm as 32 as it gets. Yeah. I'm just
what does that mean? Like, things are starting to hurt.
Well, maybe a little bit. Yeah, just get tired more. Like we got.
Were you jumping during worship or? No?
I'll jump during worship a little, but then I might pay for it later.
Yeah.
You know. But, what I mean is like I'm a 32-year-old suburban dad. Like all shorts are short. The white socks are white. I'm mowing my yard.
Let's go.
I'll smoke some ribs on my Traeger in the backyard.
Nice.
Got a mortgage.
I work with
I'm
teenagers
changing
who start a
diapers.
sentence with, I'll smoke some. I'm like, here it comes.
Yeah. Smoke some meats.
Some
meats, okay? Some
great.
chicken.
Yeah.
I'll smoke a pork shoulder, make some pulled pork.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Got to.
Yeah.
Nothing
Got
else.
to.
Woo.
None of the other smoking.
No.
But I'm just a 32-year-old dad of 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've got 3 kids. How old are they?
6, 4, and 2. Yeah, 6-year-old girl.
Wow.
And then 4 and 2-year-old boys. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. It's great. It's awesome.
You like
a lot
them
of
all,
fun.
hey?
Say what?
You like them all?
Oh yeah, they're amazing. they're
duds
incredible.
Yeah.
No, they're all awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, our 6-year-old, she's just total firstborn, super sweet. She just finished kindergarten this last week. 4-year-old is just like really awesome. He just finished his soccer season, and I got to be the coach.
My nephew just started soccer.
It's so funny. Yeah. They're just running. They
Yeah.
just don't know what's happening.
So Brian, who's on worship, he's coaching that team with my brother-in-law.
Yep.
And so Brian had just said the first time, hey, if you guys want to all gather around, and my nephew ran away in tears, like, I don't want to listen to him. He can't tell me what to do. And like, he just wants to talk to you. Like,
it's like the nicest guy.
Yeah. So I got to be the coach for the soccer dogs this year.
Nice.
Yep.
Soccer dogs.
Soccer dogs. So yeah, 4-year-old soccer. I don't know hardly anything about soccer.
I don't think they do either.
That's a great thing about coaching 4-year-olds. You don't need to know much about it. Actually,
just don't touch the ball with your hands, and you'll be fine.
Yes,
it's all about
spend a lot of energy just trying to make sure they're not playing in the dirt.
Yeah,
and going off the sidelines crying to mama and stuff. So just I'll just go here.
And teamwork is a hard thing to understand.
Yeah. I'm happy to report though we did have an undefeated season.
So
wow,
that's possible.
Oh yeah, and we like destroyed everyone pretty much every game.
Wow.
Yeah, most of our games were like 13-3, 14-5.
Oh, wow.
Scores in that range. So
for other children.
I'm not saying
you're very driven.
Yeah,
so
I'm not saying it was like all because of my coaching, but I'll take like a little credit.
Yeah.
But
were you bribing them? How do you motivate children to do this?
Starts. You got to have some star players.
Okay.
So I just made sure to recruit some
MVPs.
stars.
So it's not like your ice cream was better than their ice cream.
No, gotta have the right talent. So But my goal, I every week I would try to instill just 3 things in them. I had 3 things that I wanted them to just take from this season, to just help set. Because for my son, it was his first time in any team sport thing, and for a lot of them, it was too. So it's like you gotta learn. You learn great things in team competitions. It's really good for everyone to like just be on a team, right? Yep. And so we talked about every week. Rule number 1 was listen to the coach. All right. So I wanted them to, not just because it was me. I was one of 2 coaches, and so it was like, hey, with me or Coach Zach, like you gotta listen to the coach, develop just good listening to authority and being submitted and stuff like that. So listen to the coach. Play hard. That was a big one, right? So like, hey, not everyone's you may not score the goal. I'm not looking at your results, but I want to see your effort. And so I want you to have great effort. I want you to play hard, be tough, give it your all, every single, like run fast, you know what I mean? So just give them some specific stuff with them. And the last one was teams win championships. And so I was like, hey, we're gonna win this year. We're gonna do it as a team. And I was even with 4-year-olds trying to instill inside of them, because when you work on a team, not everyone gets to be the superstar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, my nephew was a little upset because someone took the ball from him, but it was a teammate. And he's like, he won, he scored, and he won. I'm like,
no, we win as a team, we lose as a team. Yeah,
because that's your team. Yeah. So you also won in that moment. And he's like, I don't get it.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. You want to be the one.
When he's 4, maybe it'll make more sense.
Yeah, I'm not big on like everyone gets a trophy, participation award. You know what I mean? It's like but like we're gonna win as a team. And it's good because stuff carries on later on in life. If you're working on a team later on and stuff, and you have in your mind, well,
but I gave it my minimum effort.
We all need to, if you have in your mind, everyone needs to get the shot to score the goal, and everyone needs to do this. It's like, well, that may not be your skill set may be over here in more of a supplementary thing, but that's okay. Like as a team, we can do something great.
Yep. Yeah. That's great.
Yep.
I feel a little motivated.
Yeah. I want to play soccer now.
Yeah. Anybody else? You're like,
does anyone want to play soccer? Yeah.
A little motivated.
Josh is ready too.
How long have you known God?
It's a great question. I was fortunate to grow up in awesome house. And so, I got saved at a young age as a kid, like lots of church kids do, and so I think it was around 5 years old that I made that decision to follow Jesus. And of course, I think that was when received salvation, but there's been lots of moments along the way, just big lordship moments of just
building a foundation of your own,
for sure, and just responding to His calling and surrendering things, laying things down, and so I think that's natural. If you come to know Jesus later on, a lot of it may happen maybe all at once, where it's like, I gave my life to Jesus, I laid things down, He became Lord. But
the slower process when you meet Him when you're in a Christian
saved
household.
As a kid at a young age, it's a lot of times more of a journey of
it's the same process, but it's been stretched out over decades, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I've noticed it's kind of a theme with some of the stuff you've been sharing is trust. And how would you say you've been able to build trust and whether that's seeing God fulfill his promise to you, and that, how have you built trust in God and with him?
I mean, I think the only way you do that is just by taking steps of faith.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you just live in comfort and what's easy and what you can see, then you're not going to.
Yeah. What's a good way to start doing that for any students listening? How do you start taking those steps?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, as you learn how to hear God's voice clearly, which I know there was even a breakout session this weekend
Donna
from Miss
Jordan,
Donna all about hearing God's voice. Like as you learn to hear God's voice, you respond to his lead and his guidance and take steps in that. That's awesome. But even if you're like, man, I don't feel like I can hear God's voice super clearly, just respond to, like, we can get caught up sometimes of like what's like the specific will of God for my life. Well, there's so much that's already just revealed in God's word that you don't need to guess about, right? It's like I can take steps right now in how does God want me to steward my relationships? What kind of friend do I want to be? Like, read through the book of Proverbs and just do what it says in regards to friendships and in regards to sexuality. Like just read through and like take those steps of obedience and that's, I think, as you're walking in obedience and taking steps of faith in any area, God's faithful. Yeah. So he'll
start trusting things with you too, right? Because that's a relationship. You start to trust and show that you are a trustworthy person, that he can start trusting things to you, Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's awesome.
What denomination are you, if any?
That's a great question. I was actually raised Lutheran. So my dad was a Lutheran pastor. But most of my upbringing and currently non-denominational. So we're part of a awesome, life-giving, spirit-filled, non-denominational church down in Texas called Milestone, and we love it.
If I'm ever down in Texas, I'm gonna have to come to Milestone.
Come on through.
Yeah.
It's a good place.
I was in Utah last year. We went to national park there.
You said it like it was kind of close to Texas. It's not really, but yeah.
No, it's in the States.
It's in the States. It's the same.
States.
Yeah.
It's like
Canada.
Like Texas is right here in Utah.
Yeah.
So, right?
Yeah.
It's not New York.
I'm not sure I know what this means. How many episodes have they made?
Oh, the podcast.
This is episode 32,
this
right?
This is going to be 32. Yeah, this will be number 32.
32.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
You were referencing when we very first started.
Yes.
You might have some youth group stories.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any you want to share with us?
Always.
Any funny, embarrassing moments?
We love embarrassing stories.
Too many to share.
Oh, please start us off.
I'm trying to think through what is
appropriate to share.
Appropriate and best. Because I have so many that this room and this audience cannot bear. It's
too much.
There's too much. There's a lot of things. What happens in a middle school guys camp cabin?
Oof.
I mean, sometimes it has to stay in that middle school guys camp.
Honestly,
cabin.
I'm glad some things stay in there. The smell alone.
Yeah. The sights, the sounds, the smells, all of it. Yes.
That's something I want to figure out. Is there a way to solve the boys cabin smell?
Yeah, and it's not more Axe body spray.
No. Oh my God. I've made a rule. No aerosols in the cabin.
Right.
No sunscreen, no bug spray, no deodorant.
It's surprising how many kids will
cabin.
bug spray themselves indoors.
Go outside.
Yeah.
Even the sunscreen, because then the floor is slippery.
Yeah.
And then you're going to...
Yeah, I love teenagers. I love middle school and high school so much. I really love middle school. They're just so funny. Like when you're 12, 13 years old, I mean, you're just trying to figure everything out. You know? And sometimes,
who am I gonna be?
Yes,
and your limbs don't make any sense.
Oh yeah, so much just awkward stuff. I feel like a lot of middle schoolers today are way more put together and just have. Like girls know how to do their makeup from an earlier age. They know how to style stuff. You know what I mean? Like back when I was a middle schooler, oh my gosh, we didn't know nothing. Like what were we doing? Not that I was, figured out makeup, but but I just love, the awkwardness of middle schoolers and how like oftentimes they'll do stuff and you go talk to a middle school boy. It's like, dude, what were you thinking? the honest truth is they weren't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My brother-in-law says their brain isn't fully developed yet, so you can't blame him.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was preaching once a couple years ago, and at our youth group, and there's this middle schooler sitting on the front row, and he's wearing a hat, and in the middle of my message, he just takes off his hat, and he just throws it to the front of the stage.
Oh.
And throws it out there, and then kind of looks around a little bit to his friend, and he like quickly crawls on the ground and goes over and grabs his hat, comes back, okay, and then 30 seconds later looks around, just throws it at the front of the stage again. So he does this about 10 times, where he like throws his hat and goes back and gets it and stuff like that. And I'm like preaching, and in my mind I'm like this internal debate of like, do you
acknowledge it?
Do I call him out? Do I openly rebuke him? Which I have before. Sometimes if someone's just causing a ruckus, like if it gets bad enough, I'm not afraid of just a little open rebuke. But I was like, do I do this? And I was thinking, man, where's the ushers at? Where's the security team? Like, do y'all not see what's going on? We
should get one of those. Security team sounds nice.
Oh yeah. I love our security team. They
might be worth
a security team is essential. Yes. Yeah. Keep them in line a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I was like, that was a middle schooler right there, and I was trying not to give him too much attention, so I saw it, but I didn't even know who it was.
Right.
And then I got a call the next day from his dad. And I was like, hey man, what's up? And he's like, hey, I got someone for you. And I didn't even realize yet who it was that was doing it.
Right.
And then the middle school's on the phone. Pastor Jesse, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was distracted and all that kind of stuff. And then that same middle schooler, I remember I was with him at a graduation party thing, and I was talking. We were inside this like event center building thing, and all of a sudden he comes in with this big rock. Like probably the size of like, your fist or something like that. No, actually like bigger. It was like probably the size of a loaf of bread, like this big rock.
Wow.
And he comes inside and he just throws it against the wall.
As one does.
Just like
drywall?
Throws it against his wall.
Or sheetrock.
He just throws it against it and like makes this big noise and all this. And like me and his mom are both in there. We both looked at him and was like, what are you doing? And he was just literally like, I don't know. I was like, that's just a window into a middle school boy's mind. It's like there's no thought process of cause and effect.
No.
Or they're sort of just unstoppable when they start. Like I don't know, maybe it was like one of you in this room. I don't know. It was one of the boys. It was a grade 7, 8 table at whatever point. And like they had a chair and it was on its side, and they just like once in a while just pull it. And you just look over there because it's distracting, right?
That makes that
and then
sound
makes the sound on the floor, and then would make it again, and then would make it again. I'm like, can we, when you address it, and then
stop?
There's another one. They start moving it with their feet, and I'm like,
yeah, I've noticed this too. At least the middle school boys in our church, they like to clap in the most inopportune times.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And so someone could be like sharing their testimony, sort of thing.
Don't do it.
Don't.
I know some of you were thinking about doing that.
This happened a few weeks ago. Like one of the guys who's like the original youth pastor of church, he was preaching, and he's sharing like some of his testimony of like, when he was far from God, and he's caught up in like, this drugs and different stuff like that. And he's sharing a story about like something bad that he did.
Yeah.
And he like shares
and they start clapping.
and he's like, and then I did, this, and all these middle school boys, yeah. And it's like, hey, this
isn't the good part.
Let's not
the part to clap
that.
at.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And they all want to be the last ones to clap. So they're kind of it's like, I got to get the last one or let me, exactly.
So it just keeps going forever.
Yeah. But I love them so much.
Yeah.
Middle schoolers, if you're listening out here, I mean this. You're my favorite. I love you to death.
Aww. Yeah, there's things we actually physically cannot have in our youth group anymore.
Yeah.
Like goldfish. You can entrust those, like the fishy crackers.
Yeah.
You can give those to children all day.
Yep.
Sunday schools are full of them, but you cannot give them to teenagers.
Like I'll make it.
They will be
stuck in
crushed
the
all
carpet
over the
forever.
entire building, places you've never seen a fishy
Even
cracker
popcorn
before.
Recently was it popcorn or what
no,
was
popcorn can never happen again either.
Or no, mushrooms.
Yeah. We did this game. It was
we
like a good murder mystery.
You don't give shrooms to your youth group anymore?
It was a prop. It was store-bought from the grocery store.
Oh, okay.
It was a prop
good clarity.
for,
A
we
murder
did
mystery,
in space.
futuristic.
Yeah.
The mushrooms were food.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all they
It was,
had.
the food in space, right?
Yeah.
We thought they're mushrooms. No one's going to eat them or touch them.
And we were right.
Wrong.
No one was going to eat them or touch
Well,
them.
there were
but
bite
they were
marks
going
in
to
some of
start
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
throwing them at people
Yeah.
in our church.
There are some injuries from mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've only really created rules when they've made us create rules.
Guys, anyone from Hillcrest, what's the main rule that we tell you? Shout it out right now. No.
What?
No. Be where you're
Be where
supposed to be.
And then don't slap the signs because they like to
There's the
tear the
signs
signs out of the walls throughout the building. And then
don't add or reduce the population.
And add or reduce the population.
It's a good rule.
Don't call 911.
Don't call 911
unless it's an emergency.
So this is the thing is like they're good at catching you, right? So like one week we had a police officer show up because someone called 911, and I hope eventually we don't ever have to call for real reasons because they just like hung up, and the officer kind of figured, so he took his time and eventually came in not rushing.
No, they did not.
They're like, hey,
rush
someone
their way.
called and hung up. We're like, good. So I was like, okay, I'm like, guys, we have a new rule tonight. Don't call 911. They're like, but what if it's an emergency? Like
Obviously,
those sticklers for rules. So it's don't call 911.
Oh man.
Unless there's an emergency.
They love to when we explain the rules of a game. We play a game. Some of you are in here. You know who you are.
They're good at finding all the
I
loopholes.
see you in the back.
What's your favorite game? Favorite youth group game?
So
we can no longer play poison chairs.
Do you know poison chairs?
No.
Our youth group kids, they take it way too seriously. Every game we do, and it's like our grade 12 boys, they're the problem.
Yeah.
But they take every game way too seriously, and so there's like literally stuff we can't do anymore because there were
poison chairs
injuries
is you're standing in a circle holding each other's arms.
Yeah.
And then all the chairs from everyone are in the middle.
Yep.
And you're trying to get people to touch the chair to infect them, so then they're out of the game. But
I've
people
seen
have
kids
been
fly.
flying. There was bruises after, so
yeah, they take it way too serious.
we can't play
Parents
that
don't
one.
like that.
No.
When their kid goes home with more bruises than they
Right?
came with.
It
It's true.
raises some questions about what happened at
What
youth
goes
group.
on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I took a risk this last week, and I thought it'd be funny to show a video like with a poop story. I very rarely do that. But we had a brand new grade 6 kid come in with his mom, and they left before the end of the poop story. So I was like, well, we just try stuff,
They left?
Yeah, they left.
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, they left. I'm like, the whole time I'm like, why did I pick this video for today? Why did I pick this video for today? But we just,
Oh man.
youth ministries.
Yeah, we just usually do a video to start off the night, and
we try to make it as
probably the most
painful as possible.
goofy thing we'll do that night. Probably
One of my favorite games. We don't do it anymore since COVID because you're kind of more conscious of like, spit saliva and
what did
stuff
you
like
make
that.
them do?
But we called this game the Windy Cricket, and so we'd have
don't
this
like
like
that name.
big like flexible clear tube.
Oh no.
It was maybe 5 feet long or something, and you put one person on each end, like with the tube in their mouth, but
With the egg?
you put a live cricket in the middle of the tube, and so 3, 2, 1, blow, and so you're trying to blow the cricket into the other person's mouth. So it's
Why?
super fun. It just
What?
I mean, think about a live cricket getting blown into your mouth.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't
you
want
know what?
that.
Well, that's why you gotta blow harder than your competitor.
We
gosh.
played
right?
this game, but
Nobody
with way
wins.
too big of a tube and a raw egg in it during a
Oh, wow.
30-hour famine when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I went up, and my friend, like now it's her husband, but like there's this like raw egg in there, and so you blow your whole like your lungs in there
Yeah.
because it was such a thick tube. It didn't really do anything,
And
right?
then you gotta go.
So then I went like this.
Yeah.
And I got raw egg down my throat.
Oh.
It just shot back there. It was horrifying.
It's terrible.
But that wasn't
the
alive.
games that I grew
Have
up
you heard
playing
about like
when I was
drinking pop through our soda through a sock?
Oh yeah.
Or the
We've
shoey.
done that before. We did that just at like a retreat recently.
No. Oh,
Where-
you did
where
that recently?
This
Why?
was the game. You had to take off your sock, and you each had a bottle of Coke or Dr. Pepper, and you had to hand your sock to your neighbor. So you had to drink the whole soda through your neighbor's sock and then do 20 burpees. And it was the first one to finish that.
See, our kids are lucky because I have a rule where I won't make them do anything I'm not willing to do myself, and
that's a
that
terrible
would
rule.
make the list. Yeah,
It's a terrible rule.
Would you drink a pop through a sock?
No, heck no. But I'll make
Obviously
a middle
not.
schooler do it all day. But I grew up in crazy, like the games that I played that my church made me do when I was
These
in
are
middle
tame
school.
compared to what you did.
I remember, it was a lot of bobbing for stuff. So it was like bobbing for, like you had to bob for Tootsie Rolls in a bowl full of dog food covered with syrup.
Like
bobbing,
like the little taffy.
Yeah. And so you had to like, bobbing for Spam in a bowl of milk, and then you did it as a team, and then last person had to drink the whole bowl of Spam milk. Oh yeah, I did that stuff.
The melted chocolate bar.
Yeah, and I remember the youth leaders once they did a live goldfish swallowing contest.
No,
so they didn't make the kids do it, but they made the adult leaders literally swallow live goldfish.
Is that? I feel like is that legal?
Yeah, I don't know if like
is that allowed?
PETA, like what they feel about that.
How's their insurance feel about that?
I don't know.
I feel like there's a lot of things we can't do. Like why can't we do that? Well, insurance.
Yep.
Wow.
So then you had youth leaders just talk about like my stomach just feels like it's kind of moving around and stuff.
I won't make you guys do that.
Yeah.
No goldfish were harmed.
No. And we also discourage you from doing that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to wrap
These
up.
These games do not represent the values of Hillcrest Church or this podcast.
We just one more thing before we go. You spoke about this morning at this morning's session about reaching people for your generation and just trusting that God can use you. What piece of advice would you give anyone listening before we close here, just of how to live that sort of life?
Totally. Yeah. Well, God's called you to do it. He's given all of us the ministry of reconciliation. All of us are on mission to reach others for Jesus. So God has called you to reach others. And really just what I shared this morning, for me, what's been the biggest thing is what I always encourage students in is passion and courage. And so passion, it's having love for people. It's having just a burden in your hearts to reach others. So you got to have if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to be motivated to do something that's uncomfortable, because it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to face fears, insecurities, discouragement. So you got to have a personal passion, for that from God, and then boldness, relying on the Holy Spirit, asking Him to fill you with His power and boldness and courage to do what He's called you to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jesse, thank you so much for being here.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
We enjoyed chatting with you.
Let me be on the Journey Cast.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to chat with you again soon. So
yes.
Awesome. Thanks everyone.
Awesome.
Bye.
See ya.